What's up, guys? LQ here with the LQ review. Thank you so much for joining me here at my YouTube channel. Right now, I'm going to do a ranking. Let's rank the 11 Zack Snyder films. A lot of people have a lot of feelings about Zack Snyder. Some people really love him. Some people hope he never makes another movie again. I'm a big Zack Snyder fan. I really like what he does. I haven't liked everything that he's done. That sounds a little contradictory. I have not liked every one of his movies, but I really like, in general, his filmography. Looking at his 11 films, I'm a fan of most of these movies. There's a couple misses on here, but in general, I'm very much a fan of his movies. So let's just dive in. He's done 11 movies. Let's start with number 11. Number 11 is the theatrically released Justice League. Now, this is a Zack Snyder film. He gets directing credit on it, and let's call it what it is. The theatrically released Justice League, or Justice League as the internet has come to call it, it's an abortion of a film. What WB did to it is a travesty. They took a very, very good Justice League film, which I'll talk about later, and they made a ton of changes to it. And every change that they made what made the movie worse. And I'm not kidding you. Every single change that they made was a change that made it worse. It's like they intentionally went out to make a bad film. I don't get it. A lot of people on the internet have talked about this more than I need to, so I don't need to spend much time on it. But yeah, the theatrically released Justice League, or Justice League, was a travesty. Number 10 is Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch looks beautiful. I've seen it 2 or 3 times. I still can't tell you what's going on in that film. I think the best way to watch Sucker Punch is to put it on mute, turn on some heavy metal music, and just rock out. Because there's nothing happening here story-wise. This is one of Zack Snyder's misses for me. I did not like Sucker Punch. All right, number 9. Number 9 is in the category of probably a good movie, just wasn't for me. And that is The Legend of the Guardians, The Owls of Ga'Hoole. I didn't like it, but I think it tells a good story for the right audience. And again, like any Zack Snyder film, it's beautiful. It wasn't a story that was compelling to me. I didn't get anything out of it, but I think to the right audience, there's an audience here for this. And I think there are people who would get something out of it. It just wasn't me. So that's number 9. All right. Now we're in movies that I think are pretty good. So 8 through 1 are all movies that I liked. Number 8 is Army of the Dead. I liked it. I didn't like everything about it, though. Again, any Zack Snyder movie, it looks great. I thought the action was phenomenal. I love the characters in this. And it was just a fun popcorn film to watch. I didn't like all the choices that they made as far as how the zombies behaved. I don't even know if you can actually call them zombies, given some of their mannerisms, some of their behavior, some of their intellect. But there were some choices made in this world that went far enough against the zombie norm that I didn't care for it. But overall, I found the movie to be very fun. I loved the action. The gore was over the top and silly. It was almost like almost like a Dirty Dozen movie set in a zombie apocalypse, or as a potential zombie apocalypse. And I really enjoyed it. But there was, like I said, there was just some choices that didn't work for me, and that's why it's so low on the list. Even though it's in a positive, it would get a positive review from me. All right, number 7. Number 7 is Rebel Moon Part 1. As I said in my review, this movie suffers from first movie syndrome. They're trying to build a franchise here, so by the end of the film, you feel like you're getting to the end of the first act of a larger movie. It's beautiful, great action, awesome world building, but the story was lacking because they've got their eyes set on the franchise. So for me, that's why this one ranks 7th place, was The story itself was not as contained as I would have liked it to have been. All right, number six. Number six is Dawn of the Dead. I liked it. I thought it was it was a good first outing for Zack Snyder. A lot of the Snyderisms that we know now, the slow mo, the beautiful CGI, big set pieces, some of that wasn't here the same way we see it in the Zack Snyder films today. Not that it wasn't there, it just wasn't as prevalent as what we see today. But I'm a huge fan of the original Dawn of the Dead. No, this movie's not as good as the original one, but it is a worthy retelling of that story. So Dawn of the Dead is number six. Number five is Watchmen. I know a lot of people, Watchmen is their favorite Zack Snyder movie. Other people, they think it's almost unwatchable. For me, I really like Watchmen. I think that it does a good enough job of adapting the source material that was very difficult to adapt. I'm a big fan of the graphic novel. I've read it several times, and I don't think the movie is quite as good as the graphic novel is, but it's a good movie. It was obviously Zack Snyder knows the source material. He has a passion for it, and he did a good job of adapting it, in my opinion. So that's number five. Number four is Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition. This movie does have some weaknesses. I was not a fan of the characterization of Lex Luthor. I thought that his evil plan was contrived, over the top. It took a lot of coincidences to pull it off. But outside of that, there's so much gold in this movie. So much gold. Ben Affleck's Batman is amazing. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman was inspired casting. This movie did such a good job of deconstructing Superman as well. What would an alien with his type of powers, what would the consequences of that be? I love Batman vs. Superman. I think it's great. And it's number four on this list. Number three is 300. 300 was so good. I remember watching the trailer for 300, and I was just blown away by the trailer. I couldn't wait to watch the movie. And then, when the movie lived up to the hype of the trailer, this was a phenomenal movie. So good. The imagery was great. The story of the 300 Spartans standing against the Persian army was great. It put Gerard Butler on my radar, and I've been a fan of his ever since. Honestly, this put Zack Snyder on my radar, and I've been a fan of his ever since. 300 was so good. Was it historically accurate? No, it wasn't. But it was fun. It was fun. And action-packed and inspiring. And a movie's supposed to create feelings in you. And Zack Snyder's 300 created so many feelings. And it was just so much fun to watch. So that's number three. Number two is Zack Snyder's Justice League. A great movie. I put it on par with the best of the Marvel movies. It was just a feat in filmmaking, such an accomplishment. I'm so glad he got to make it. The only reason this isn't number one is because it's probably a little bit too long. There is some stuff in there that I would have cut out if I was editing the movie. But he was giving full reign, so why not put everything in there? Why not? But the fact that there is some stuff in there that I didn't think needed to be in there, some stuff that could have gotten cut out. The Aquaman song, what was that? There was stuff in there he could have lost to tighten it up a little bit. But that's a nitpick. This movie's near perfect. This movie is near perfect. I loved it. It's one of the best comic book movies ever made. Number one on this list is also one of the best comic book movies ever made, and it's Man of Steel. I have nothing bad to say about Man of Steel. I think it's a perfect comic book movie. There, I said it. I know a lot of people don't like it. I don't. That's fair. That's fair. It's art is subjective. Some people look at the Mona Lisa and they see a work of art, and some people look at the Mona Lisa and they're like, "What am I? Why is this amazing?" Art is subjective. I look at Man of Steel and I see one of the best comic book movies ever made. I have one nitpick on Man of Steel, and it's a nitpick. My nitpick is um, the way that Jonathan Kent died. I didn't like him dying in a tornado. I didn't like Clark not saving him. In the Richard Donner movies, Jonathan Kent died of a heart attack, and Clark had to reconcile. He had to reconcile that with himself, that he couldn't save him. Remember when he said, "All my powers, all the things I can do," and I couldn't save him. That was when Clark realized that he couldn't save everybody, and that there was limits to what he could do. That lesson wasn't really taught in Jonathan's death. The only lesson that Clark learned was, I got to keep myself a secret. And my dad's willing to die for that. I thought it was much more profound when the lesson was, I can't save everyone, or there's limits to what I can do. That's my only nitpick. Man of Steel is almost a perfect comic book movie, and it's my number one Zack Snyder film. How would you rank Zack Snyder films? Let me know in the comments below. I'm looking forward to seeing what your opinions are. And until then, we'll see you guys later.